boo! Just because Halloween is over, it does not mean you still can't get scared. That was just absolutely ridiculous. I am Ethan Bird, and welcome to another week of Bird's Eye View. Come on, you know the drill. Come and join me on down here. You see, Rams, I wore my Todd Gurley jersey today because I could not think of many things scarier than TG2 running at your defense in 2019 or Gurley approaching the end zone in the final minutes of an Atlanta Falcons lead. Okay, that's enough jokes, because today we're going to get a little uncomfy again. This week we will be, but we learned that it is important for us to be uncomfortable in order to gather understanding. So we'll be talking about social justice, and social justice in sports in particular. Our country has seen a racial reckoning since the killing of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police, sparking conversations all over the nation and reigniting the Black Lives Matter movement. And as a white man in America, I will never truly understand the challenges and tribulations of my minority brothers and sisters in America. So I turned to conversation to understand. I zoomed in with Brooke Hudson of CSU Volleyball. You are one of, if not the most outspoken CSU athletes in terms of social justice and social issues. What does it mean to you to use your platform as an athlete to advocate for social justice?
I think for me, I was given this platform because of my athletic ability, but I'm so much more than just a volleyball player. Being a Black woman in today's society means so much more to me than being a volleyball player. I'm so thankful for CSU allowing me to use that platform, but I think it goes beyond volleyball, and that's why I use my platform today.
What are some of the ways that you try to educate the people around you?
Well, for starters, we, as a volleyball team, each year we do like a diversity and inclusion training, and just being in an open and comfortable space to talk about those things that I personally, as a Black female in this country, go through, or as a gay woman, there's so many things that you don't know until you get into those raw conversations. And I think that's the biggest thing. Also, sharing books and sharing podcasts and like news articles, and you never talked about that in sports, but recently that's the biggest thing. And I think that's where I thrive in, hey, this is what's going on, or hey, voting, we get election day off, or just different things like that, bringing awareness to the little things that nobody would know if you don't talk about it every day.
And these conversations surrounding race have been circulating at CSU, but not for all the right reasons. A couple of weeks ago, as we know, the racial climate investigation into CSU athletics concluded, and Brooke had some choice words. As someone who is directly affected by this investigation and these conclusions, do you feel like this is enough?
Oh, no, not at all. I don't think it's enough. I think, to me, it was just another way to have Black student athletes be completely erased and their voices be completely erased by the system that we built here at CSU. I think when we hear a lot of the terms that have come up within the past few months with racial injustice and everything is systemic racism. And this was just another way that Black student athletes and Black voices are silenced by the system. And I think that the system needs to be completely dismantled and have a way for Black student athletes to be completely heard and run and be safe here, because that's the biggest thing. CSU Athletics says that your athletes are safe here, but it was completely diminished and our voices were completely not heard. Within the investigation, you see that some people had racial insensitivity allegations, but then the president of the university comes out and says, well, most student athletes feel safe, but what about the others? If there's one, then it's not a safe place. And that's what I think my biggest issue is with the conclusions of that investigation.
Well, and one of the things with the investigation, 115 individuals were interviewed, but there's no there's no statistics on the demographics that were interviewed. Do you feel like Black athletes were represented in this investigation?
I personally don't. I just honestly don't think Black people are represented in this athletic administration regardless. I mean, we have 0 Black head coaches. We have two athletic trainers, and then a few on basketball and stuff like that. But I just don't think Black athletes are represented well here at CSU and in Fort Collins in general.
Mm-hmm. And you told the Coloradoan last week that the investigation was a whitewash of the system, and it made you feel unseen, and that this is what systematic racism looks like. What kind of language within the conclusions of the investigation and even actions taken during the investigation made you feel that way?
I think for me, one of the conclusions was we need to have a place to build empathy for these racial insensitive actions. And why do you need to build empathy for that? I think if you have Black student athletes, which if you look at the demographics of CSU, majority of the Black students that go here are athletes, you shouldn't have to build empathy for that. You should have the empathy. You should go through these racial trainings. You should go through them before it gets to this place where we have to have an investigation to begin with. And I think that for me was the biggest thing. You should know how to deal with these situations, and you shouldn't have to build empathy for that. You should know what's going on in the country. You should know the current climate of the country right now. Mm-hmm. And you should already have that in your heart. You shouldn't have to build that. And I think that's where I was extremely disappointed.
And I could not begin to thank Brooke enough for sitting down and being vulnerable with me and really helping me to learn and understand. Her full interview will be posted on YouTube after the show. Now, like I said before, as white Americans, we cannot fully understand the experience of our minority neighbors. However, the lack of true understanding should never, ever lead to the lack of empathy. A racial climate will never tilt in the right direction without empathy to the pain of our brothers and sisters within the human race. And as uncomfortable as those conversations can be, they will never go away. I mean, just look at sports. On October 16th, 1968, Black Olympians Tommy Smith and John Carlos silently protested as they accepted their medals. Their fight is not over. In 2016, Colin Kaepernick knelt during the national anthem in protest of police brutality. His fight is not over. This year, in the NBA bubble, athletes use their voices and their actions to advocate for social change. Their fight is ongoing, and they were told to shut up and dribble. And now CSU's own athletes are advocating for the same fight. And there has never been a time to shut up and dribble, shut up and serve, and shut up and pitch. It's time for us to shut up and listen, especially with tomorrow's election. Use your vote to start the change that you want to see. Rachel and Erica have their CTV Sports Pick'em up next. Until next week, Rams, I'm Ethan Burt.